Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Nodeti Nastametyesha Navruddhinyati Nakshayam Swayam Vibhatyathaanyani Bhasayet sadhanam vina. You have to pay attention to every word of the verse. And it is very precise, and you may not want to miss one aspect of the verse. Like sadhanam vina bhasayet. It illuminates without depending upon anything else. Okay, its implication, etc. I will describe. So this verse, the fifth verse, is an elaboration of the second line of the first verse. First line we have completed. So drishyam druktumanasam, that we have seen. Generally up to that we are all aware. Up to that, body, mind, outside world, then the body, then the mind. Up to that we are familiar with. And so there is a tendency, that is how it happens with everyone. This is a universal error, not one person's error. It's not a topical error. It is universal error. The error is, that is all, the world, the body and the mind. That is all. What else is there? Because that is all we are familiar with. Only that is all. Okay? That is how universally the human being tends to conclude. Right? Do you agree with me? Then a religionist comes. You have to understand these things dispassionately. Suppose I said religionist, your antenna should not go up. Let us see what he talks about religion. You should be like that. Okay? We all have a religion. You look at my face, I sport my religion on my face. Don't I do that? So that is not the point. Everybody has a religion. And so a religionist comes and addresses the people. Is this what you think? The world, the body and the mind. We are familiar with that much. Is that what you think? Yeah, that is what we think. No, there is one more. What is that? God. What do you mean by God? He created all this. When? If he is an intelligent religionist, he will not answer that question. Because it's a singularity. The time comes only after creation. Therefore, you cannot pinpoint a time for creation itself. Because time is the byproduct of creation. It is called singularity in physics. So when? The question is a wrong question. Because time itself is not there yet. How can you ask when? Where? Another singularity. Because space itself came after creation. Why? A third singularity. You should not ask why. Because the cause-effect relationship, something is the cause and the other is the effect, that is part and parcel of creation. For cause-effect relationship to be in place, time should be there. The cause is earlier, effect is later. The time element should be there. Without time, there cannot be cause-effect. Therefore, there is no time yet. Therefore, why is, you should not ask why. Another wrong question. So, another singularity. An intelligent religionist will not answer these questions. He will point out, don't ask those questions, because they are not relevant, they are wrong questions, so they cannot be answered. An intelligent religionist will answer like that. But a religionist is not intelligent. That is the problem. He is not a thinking person. He is a believing person. This belief has many shades. Somebody believes in an image, and somebody believes in an idea. They say, God has no image. So that's an idea. But there is a God, he has no image, he has no form. That is another idea, and people believe in it. And people who believe in the image and people who believe that there is no image for God, they fight with each other. All these things go on in the world. And the religionists, they do a mistake also. So you come across two shades among the religionists. One is there is a God above, and that God has a form. And once you say form, an entire samsara will come. The moment you say God has a form, then he must have a location. What is that? Vaikuntha. Then somebody else says something else. They talk as if they have just now come from there. First hand information jaisa baat karte hai. And a location, and then form. Form means what form? Human form. This is the anthropomorphism. Human form. Even when you think of an animal, God as an animal, still that animal is associated with human form. God is a boar, but only face is boar, the rest is human form only. Like that. God is a fish, only the head is the fish, but the rest is human form only. Or four hands, three eyes. Three eyes has a symbolism, four hands has a symbolism. People don't study properly, they don't know much. They talk a lot, but they don't know much. The four hand symbolism, all these are very well explained by great Mahatmas. So, people want stories. As Swami Ramatirtha says, people are like children. Children want stories, you know. They want you tell a story, the child becomes very happy. And the child believes the story wholeheartedly. Whatever little mind it has, all of that is totally devoted to the story, taking the story as real. And the religious people, that means we, you and I, are no different. As Swami Vivekananda puts it, we are spiritual babes. That is what we are. The religionist tries to fill the gap with a God, conceptual God, which is only a matter of belief. You have to just believe and be done with it, which is not a very interesting or wise thing to do. Maybe initially you may begin your life like that, but you cannot end the life like that. That is what I was quoting yesterday, Swami Vivekananda. So, here the point is, you are familiar up to the mind. The world is very gross. The body, which is a part and parcel of nature, is equally gross. But then the mind is subtle. Just because the mind is subtle, that is not end of all. That is not all or not the end of all. There is something beyond the mind. If you don't like the word beyond, use behind, okay? I am not talking in a physical sense in any way. Some language you have to use. So, deeper than the mind. If you like it, you can use it. Okay, that doesn't mean you can sit in a submarine and go into it. Yesterday I was reading in New York Times, there is a submarine tourism. So it costs a lot though. So you book a ticket, go and sit in that submarine, like you sit in a flight and go up, sit in the submarine, and they go down into the Pacific. There are trenches in Pacific, very deep holes, and so they will take you into the deep holes. And then the Pacific Trench Safari. There will be some animals, some living forms there. You can look at them and come up. I was tempted. But when I saw the bill, I said, okay, God bless you. It costs a lot of money. I was wondering why they should charge so much for a submarine. It should be cheaper than that. That is what I felt. Therefore, deeper doesn't mean some such thing. Okay? Deeper means you have to go behind the mind or below the mind or beyond the mind, whatever name you give to it. So how to do that? You can easily do that. Not a problem at all. You can easily do that. Only thing is, most of us live superficially. For us, God is a belief. No one questions what is God. Because what is God question, it makes you a thinking person. It makes you go into the depths of consciousness and investigate. Whereas if you just believe, you can remain on the superficial layers of consciousness. And if you believe in God, then what all you have to do is perform a ritual, and then at the end of the ritual have some sumptuous lunch and or dinner. So it is very fulfilling in a very superficial way. Therefore people get satisfied with that. They don't understand that the consciousness, I was describing a lot about consciousness, the background of the mental movement, that waking consciousness, it is comparable to an iceberg. And iceberg, you know very well, only 1/10 of the iceberg shows on the surface. The rest is below the water. That is what the iceberg is. And your consciousness, the content of which was very well described in this verse, desire, a stray thought, doubt, commitment, lack of commitment, courage of three kinds, then a sense of shame or a sense of embarrassment, or a sense of shyness that you find in a young lady, etc. Then the intellect, that you embellish the intellect enormously. You start at the age of 5 or even earlier than that. 3, they start in India, the child's intellectual journey begins at 3. And the child gets a seat in that particular school, kindergarten school, only after an interview. I thought interview for the parents. The parents were telling me, I thought they will interview you, not the child. They said no. It is the child's interview only. And parents will be asked to get out and they interview the child. Sometimes I said, suppose if the child started crying. When the parents are asked to get out, the child, 3-year-old child, it starts crying. Then they fail the child in the interview. So seat won't be available. What an interesting situation. So the child's intellectual journey begins at the age 3, and then it will go on and on to university, and then beyond that also if possible, and then do PhD. That is how the intellect is embellished, furnished, and that empowers you. You can make a place for yourself in the society and make a lot of money, and it becomes your job and all that. Social status is there based on that. The whole works, that is the intellectual journey. That is also part and parcel of this consciousness, still superficial. Then an enormous security of enormous sense of insecurity with which we live all of our life. So the insecurity is sometimes it is very pronounced, but quite often it is just remains in the background, but it is always there. So this is mostly, some more you can add, ityeva madin. So this is the consciousness, and this is the superficial consciousness, or the surface consciousness. And so we live on the surface only, and that makes us very agitated people. Why agitated? What is the surface consciousness? It is the movement of the mind, a constant flow of thoughts. That is the surface consciousness. Naturally you will be agitated. That is the agitation. Suppose you take a cork and put it on water where there is a lot of disturbance. Waves are coming, and you drop a cork on that water. What will be the fate of the cork? So it will be going up and down, up and down. It will be subjected to an enormous amount of movement. Okay? So similarly, that is the agitation we are talking about. When there is a lot of movement on the surface and you remain on the surface. The description appears as though it is physical, but it is not physical, it is metaphorical. So you remain on the surface means you identify with the surface movement. So there is jealousy in the surface, so now you are a jealous person. There is anger in the surface movement, now you are an angry person. And there is some sense of goodwill on the surface movement, now you are a compassionate person. And there is some charity in the surface movement, then now you are a philanthropist. Everything is on the surface. And we are satisfied with all that. So, therefore, this is how we live. No surprise, we remain very agitated. Our activities and our existence, social activities, political activities, religious existence, we are religious people. I'm unhappy to say, but that is the truth. The religious existence that we have in every one of us is entirely on the surface. It is all on the surface. So you are satisfied when the priest or the guru, the religious guru. There are gurus who guide the religious communities and masses and groups. So, I use the word guru. If you don't like the word guru, you substitute it with some other word. Okay? A religious person or religious head. So, he tells you that God will fulfill your desire just by saying this prayer. And you are satisfied with it. It doesn't occur to you to question when there are billions and billions of life forms in this creation and all are supposedly created by that God, and I am not even one in a million. I am not even one in a billion. I am one in billions of life forms. And now I make a prayer, Pahimam, Trahimam, and therefore he is disturbed by my prayer or he is moved by my prayer and he will shower blessings upon me. This is what the Guru tells, and you take it. You don't even question. Putrarthi labhate putran. Dhanarthi labhate dhanam. That is not part of Vishnu Sahasranama. That is an extrapolation. Somebody has put it there. You ask me what is original and what is extrapolation, I will tell you. Because I have specialized in that subject. Really, they ask me. Some of the Vedic scholars of the Tirupati University, Sanskrit Vedic University, they come to me and ask me, Swamiji, what is your opinion about this? Is it extrapolation or original? I'll tell them, this is original. Oh, very good. They get satisfied with my answer. So I am specialist in that. Please don't mind. Therefore, you never go below the surface. Suppose you raise a question, means you started thinking, means now you are not satisfied with the surface movement. You are trying to go below. You never go below. So, very unfortunate that people do not inquire into the depths. In fact, your existence, your being is not on the surface. Surface is all doing. Movement, even thinking is a doing. You are not the moving thing. You are the immutable. You must have heard this word. You must have heard somebody saying that you are kotasthaha. You are the immutable. Then you should have questioned, how come I am immutable? Where I am immutable? I seem to be very agitated all the time. And I seem to be the doer all the time. If I am the doer, then I am doing and doing and doing. Where is immutability in it? The doer mutates, you know that? When I hit on the table hits back on the hand. So the table mutates and the hand also mutates. The karta mutates. Therefore I am always mutating, changing, changeful. Where is this immutability? No, tvam kota atma kotasthaha. Which atma? There is an atma, big boulder-like thing in Himalayas, that is kotasthaha. No, you, then I don't feel I am kotasthaha. I feel I am an agitated guy, as a doer and enjoyer. Therefore, this anomaly has come because you remain on the surface movement of the consciousness, identified with it. So you have to question that movement. You have to examine that movement. You have to watch that movement. Now we are coming to the second line. How can we watch that movement if that is the ultimate, that is the end? Then you cannot watch like you are standing in the middle. Go back, I go back, 2 steps. Then take 2 steps back, I take 2 steps back. Then I want to take 2 steps back. Then suddenly I bump into the wall. Then I cannot take 2 steps back anymore. Then I ask you, what do you mean by 2 steps back? There is a wall behind me. So similarly, don't be attached to the world. Okay, I am not attached to the world. Close the eyes. Because if you open the eyes, there is world. Close the eyes. Okay, I close the eyes. Then go behind the eyesight. Okay, I go to the mind, behind the eyesight. That is the mind. Go behind the mind. Okay, I go behind the mind. There is a way of going behind the mind. And that is, look at the mind. Are you able to follow? That is how you go behind the mind. Thoda dimag hona hai. Okay, you have to use understanding. How can you go behind the mind? I can go behind the chair. That is okay. But how to go behind the mind? Very simple. Look at the mind. Now if you ask me how to look at the mind, I don't have an answer. I said just do it. Okay? It is not a doing also. Just do it, appa. That is enough explanation. Don't try to rationalize too much. What can only be experienced cannot be put in so many words all the time. In fact, we are putting it in words, you should congratulate for that. This much explanation is being provided. How much tapas must have gone into it? So anyway, so look at the mind. So somebody told me how to look at the mind. Then I have an answer for that also. And the answer is, appa, sit down, try to look at the mind. Oh, is it? Yeah. You close the eyes and try to look at the mind. Suppose I fail, you try again. Then he said, okay. So, one way or the other, look at the mind. So I ask you, I tell you, when you look at the mind, are you not already free from the limitations of the mind? Isn't it so? Suppose mind is sad, morose. Quite often it is like that. For me it is like that. I take a class and become morose. You know morose? I go into my room and sit morose. Then I look at the mind and ask what is going on in this mind. It is morose for a reason, but these reasons are all unreal, jagat mithya. Therefore, okay, done with this moroseness. I look at a book and it absorbs me. Therefore I am happy. So, mind is morose. And how do you know it is morose? By looking at the mind you know the morose. When I say I, it is not I, just as an example. Therefore, when you are aware of the mind, so when you look at the mind, you please understand you are already free from the limitations of the mind. So, you see, suppose you notice a limitation in you. There is a limitation. We are all very limited people. We have limited faculties. So, what I do is, I notice my limitation. I notice my limitation. For example, I often say this, there is some truth in it. I am a timid person. I may appear like a big guy sitting here, but you have to look at me in my room. I am a very timid person. And I know that. There is a limitation. I know that. I am sitting in the flight. I am a bit unsure of myself to ask for a cup of coffee. Let me wait for some more time. So, instead of me asking the lady comes to me and do you want something, sir? That would be a better occasion. Okay? So, shall I press that bell? Maybe we should not do that. Because she may not like it. Hey, why did you press that bell? What do you want like that? There is a thing called British hospitality. So, I am very timid. So I will think about, okay, let me forget about coffee. Let me read a book. I read a book and spend another half an hour. Then I garner a lot of courage and finally, hey ma'am, can I have a cup of coffee? I said, it blurts out. She said, you wait 10 minutes. Okay, that is good, you know. I am now sure of coffee in 10 or 15 minutes. So this is what I am. This is my limitation. And lo behold, I am aware of my limitation. I know that I am limited. The limitation I am aware. And I do not condemn. You should not condemn it. If you condemn, you have already identified with it. I am aware of my limitation. I am talking of the awareness, the sakshi. I am aware of the limitation without any condemnation. I am aware. And so I am free from that limitation. The limitation is there, but I am free from that. I am not that limitation. This is how it works. Just I gave you a kind of a example, I dramatized it a bit. So drishya dhivurtayaha, the dhivrittis, the entire movement of the mind is an object. Don't give it wrongly the status of a subject. Don't make that mistake. The entire movement of the mind is an object. It is not the subject. Drishyaha, dhivurta. Vritti is the movement of mind. In Vedanta, I come across this word vritti a lot. And people, please don't mind. Okay, some of you may be holding on to the word vritti like that. So it is I have a fad about it. These people who talk a lot about vritti, so they are intellectualizing the vision, which doesn't serve a purpose. Once you intellectualize the vision, are you following what I say? Once you make it intellectualize, then somehow you create a distance. And you don't allow it to become the real for you. So don't intellectualize. Don't bring in a lot of terminology into it. Vritti, this and that. So Brahmakara vritti, the vritti which captures Brahman. Ghatakara vritti, Ghata is there. And vritti, the mind modification, which objectifies the Ghata. That is the Ghatakara vritti. Remove Ghata and put Brahma there. Then Brahma becomes Ghata-like. You know. No, I put Akhanda. Akhanda Brahmakara vritti. Now Akhanda Brahma has been captured by the vritti. It is the vritti envelops the Brahma. That doesn't sound very nice. So I have given, it is my pet name. And I have given a pet name. Shall I share it with you? Will you keep it a secret? Okay. My pet name is Country Club Vedantins. Okay. So, forget about vritti and all that. Movement. Now I am saying, vritti word is there. We are not against any word. All words are welcome, provided you take the spirit of the word. So vritti is movement. How it is movement, you know? It comes from, we are Vaiyakaranas. Vritti vartane, that is the dhatu. E is idvarna. So vrit you are left with. It gets gunam. Ana. You know, I told you about ana, gamana, karana, bhojana. So put ana there. So and guna. So vartanam. Vrittihi. That is the vritti. Vritti, vrittihi. Therefore, it is the movement. Movement. You know, pravartanam. Did you hear the word pravartanam? Take out the pra, same meaning. Movement. Now it is simple. Dhivurtayaha. All movements of the mind, every movement of the mind is drishya. It is an object. You have to understand that. Not just understanding, you have to realize it. That is the meaning of understanding also. So, then you have to invoke that thing which dramatically presents before you the drishya nature of the mind's movement. And that thing is sakshi, awareness. Awareness, why do you call sakshi? I will explain at presently I will explain, and very soon I will explain. So how to deal with this mental states? Vritti is a mental state. How to deal with it? You watch it or observe it. There is a thing called observing. So you should practice that observation. But there is one precaution. You have to observe without being the observer. That is a very critical aspect. Suppose you are the observer and you are observing something. You are an egoic person. That is ego. Maybe I should not say egoic. I have to say egotistic, some grammar. So you become an egotistic person. As an ego, you should not observe. For example, I sit here and I observe all of you. If I am observing as an ego, that is not admissible. I will be judging you and I will be looking down upon you sometimes. Sometimes I will be looking up. All kinds of things will be there. Raga and dvesha. I should not do that. I am observing all right, but without being an observer. So I give you an example. Tell me whether you agree with it. You see a birds in flight, and you are observing. At that time, are you an egotistic observer, or there is only observation without there being an ego? What kind of observation it is? Egoless observation, right? That is the key. So you are looking at the clouds. Egoless observation. Suppose a farmer who is waiting for rains is looking at the clouds. It is not egoless observation. It may be egotistic observation. We are not talking about right, wrong. So observation without being an observer. This is the key. And you have to get there. I do that. If I happen to go to Manhattan, I just stand on the footpath and observe the traffic back and forth. Without being an ego. I am not observing like an ego person, I am a Vedantin. These are all samsaris. Let me look at them. Not that way. Everybody is a samsari. Everybody is otherwise why am I standing on a Manhattan footpath? Some kind of samsari I must have been. So not like that. There is no ego unless you put that brain cells have the me and mine, as I told in the meditation. So there is a knack of putting it aside and observe. Then you see the human movement and a variety in it. And it's a revelation. And you can feel oneness with the human heart. And sometimes you can sympathize. Sometimes you can feel, oh, these are great people. And a sense of elation you will get. A sense of love, you will be able to love even the neutral people, irrespective of caste, creed, this and that. So that is a very big thing. Observation without being an ego. You know how ego operates? It condemns what it observes. That is ego. That condemnation. You see, I told you, somebody said that I am an idiot. And I observed. You see, will I become an idiot just because somebody says that I am an idiot? I don't become an idiot, you know. So, just I observed. Okay. Then, is there some truth in it? I told you already. There is some truth in it. I have to grudgingly admit it. So, therefore, when you observe, this is the secret. I am sharing the secret with you. When you observe without being an ego, means without justifying or without condemning, without judging, without assessing, without evaluating, when you observe, you will not get hurt. You don't get hurt. The person says idiot, you don't get hurt. Once I went somewhere for some temple thing. Generally I don't go anywhere. But that day it so happened I went there. Then as a sannyasi has got a very limited job to do in the temple context. So do some abhishekam or whatever. Just 2-minute job. It is finished. That is the purpose for which I went, and so I finished it. I am just standing there. In the meanwhile, one of these volunteers will be there, Karyakarta. They are all, some of them at least are ideologues. These ideologues are very dangerous, you know. So he came to me and told me, Swamiji, why do you stand there like that? All those children are there waiting. Teach them a few verses. I have to teach a few verses to them. Instead of just looking up and down, not doing any work. Whereas this ideologue is working since morning. So why do you stand like that? Go and teach them. They are all children are waiting there. Go and teach them some verses. You must be knowing some verses. I smiled at him. In the meanwhile, the head came running. Hey, what are you talking? Do you know who he is? Get out from here like that. No, don't say like that. Okay, sir, we will see. I will try to teach. You just go and do your job. So, when you don't get hurt. You don't get hurt. When you observe without being in ego. This is the secret. I shared with you. You are all patrons and I love you, all of you. So this is the secret of not getting hurt. And when you know the signs, the person is having a grumpy face and he is coming and he is going to say something nasty to me, you know the signs, then you become alert. Alert only. Alert is same as aware. You become alert. Alert means now the ego is not there. Ego is there only when you are not alert. When you are not aware. So I become alert. Let me see what is he going to say. Observation. So bring in the faculty of observation, the power of observation to bear upon the context. And now he comes with a grumpy face and says something. And you know what happens? There is a smile on your lips. Because that is the power of observation. And you believe me, you try it, you will not be hurt. You will not be hurt. I told about idiot. Once a lady told me in India, you are a crazy fellow. You are crazy is a general expression. You are a madcap. You are schizophrenic. That is what she meant. You know what I told? Yes, that schizophrenic gene is in me. That is, I told her. True, it is true. And after saying that, within a few months I became a sannyasi. That must be true. To become a sannyasi and go around for bhiksha, he must have been a schizophrenic guy, and she was right. So observation without condemnation means without identification, because all these problems arise out of identification. So without condemnation, when you observe, that is awareness. That is the definition of awareness. That is what awareness is. I am making a big deal of awareness in this camp because that is my topic for the entire camp. And so now I am giving you the definition because we have come to the Sakshi. Awareness is observation without condemnation. And what happens when you are aware? Awareness brings understanding. Suppose you condemn, means you have not understood. There is no understanding. You justify, there is no understanding. You identify, there is no understanding. You silently observe. Silence in the sense, none of these things are there. That is the silence I am talking about. That inner silence. You silently observe, then you understand. You know what you understand? In the case of the examples that I have cited, what could be the reason for the person to talk like that? I understand. I can relate with the frustration of the person. The person is very frustrated. That's why he is using such a language against the Swami. So I can understand the frustration of the person. And I feel like blessing the person because he is frustrated. I am not frustrated, I am quite all right. So, power of observation, power of awareness. You must observe. If you want to understand something, if you don't want to understand, you want to create a scene, you go ahead and create it. And whatever happens, happens. But if you want to understand something, whatever that something may be, you must observe. Without being an observer, that goes without saying. You may not want to condemn it, you should not criticize, and also you should not pursue it as a pleasure, and you should not avoid it as non-pleasure. Pleasure means it is identification and judgment it is. Non-pleasure is also like that. Therefore, you neither pursue it as pleasure nor avoid it as non-pleasure. No condemnation, etc., which I have already mentioned. There is only observation, then you understand. There is understanding. And in Ramayana, Rama understood Ravana. And that's why Rama has no enmity with Ravana. Rama met Ravana for the first time in the battlefield. He gave him a piece of advice. Nothing is yet lost. Go back, live long. With your children, with your wives, live long. Just send a message to that place where Sita is held captive to release her. She will walk and come to me, I will go my way. That is what Rama told. You look at that. How much of that awareness, that dimension of awareness must be shining in him? No enmity at all. So that is how you become when you are aware, observe without condemnation. Also, one more precaution, there is no end in view. You are not pursuing a goal. Okay, let me, from today onwards, I will be aware so that I will get moksha within 3 months. No, it's not like that. Moksha is already with you. You need not get it. You cannot get it also. Because it is already with you. It is already you. Therefore, this end in view, this is the law of Gita, the law, universal law, as important as the law of gravitation, as precise, not important, precise as the law of gravitation. That is, you do not have the end in view. The other day I went for satsang in some place. There is a statement there. I trust the process. Beautiful, because the person is focused on the process. He is not focused on the end. Trust in the process. Don't have the end in view. Okay? So similarly, when pursuing the awareness, when investigating the depths of consciousness in this fashion, you do not have an end in view. Some end is presented in the Shastra as moksha in a context. But the same Shastra which talks of moksha says, you are nitya muktaha, you are timelessly free. Therefore, that is awareness. Let me say a little about awareness, a little more. Awareness, it is not a self-improvement. Because self is false self it is. The apparent self, or the egotistic self, it is false self. Personality development, there is a thing called personality development. It is self-improvement. Okay? This is not self-improvement. In fact, I recommend that you should not bring down Drig Drishya Viveka to the level of psychology. It is not psychology. In psychology, mind is real. The movement of mind is real. Here it is apparent. It is not real. It is all mithya. So only Atma is real here. It is an altogether different dimension it is. And therefore, so it is not self-improvement. On the contrary, it is the ending of the small self. The ego self, the ego is the self. It is the ending of that small self. It is the ending of the me, which is there in the brain cells. You try whether you can locate me in the thighs, in the kneecap, you try it. You will find that there is no me anywhere in the body except in the brain cells. You don't find me in the heart also. If you want to topna chahte, you want to put there forcibly, I cannot help it. But if you are open and understand and look at the heart, you don't feel the sense of me. That's why Hridaya, all the time Hridaya, heart. Sayonta Purushaha, Hridaya Adityaha. I did not get the mantra right. So, Upanishad. So in the heart, it is always heart. Hridaya Kuhara Madhya. So not the head. These head people, you should not be head people, you should be heart people. Head people means the Kundalini goes up and up and up, where it will go? Don't be that. Because it goes to the head, we don't know head people. Heart people. Head is the seat of me and mine. And therefore, awareness is not a self-improvement. On the contrary, it is the ending of the small self. It is the ending of the me. The me. Of course, mine follows suit. But the ending of the me, with all its peculiar idiosyncrasies, memories. You see, you remember something and become sad. That is the movement of the ego. Ego holds memory. All memory is in the brain cells. That's why when the brain cells become a bit weak, the memory is lost. So, therefore it is the ego with all its peculiar memories, idiosyncrasies, demands and pursuits. Suppose, are you demanding something? It could be any context. You may be demanding something from your spouse. That is the ego. That is not the true self. Suppose I demand something from the place, from the ashram. That becomes the ego. Suppose I do not have any demand whatsoever. That is the awareness. Suppose you are pursuing something in the world or in the name of Vedanta. In the world people are pursuing anyway. They are running hither and thither in pursuit of something or the other. And then come to Vedanta and start pursuing something else. Take sannyasa and pursue something else. Kya baat hai? So, in this awareness, there is no pursuit. Pursuit is that of the ego. Sri Krishna said, as long as you are pursuing moksha, you won't get it. Because the moksha pursuing ego you are now. Okay, siddhya siddhyos samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Look at the bhashya there. Not give some meaning to it. Look at the bhashya. The context is there. So what is yoga? The means of communion with Ishvara. That is the yoga. And how you get that yoga? Samatvam. Sameness. Very simple translation. Don't make it a very big thing. Sameness. Sameness of what? Siddhi and asiddhi. What is siddhi? Gaining of moksha. What is asiddhi? Moksha getting delayed. Look at the bhashya. Not that you started a business siddhi and asiddhi. That is not Gita, you know. Gita is moksha shastra, not business improvement shastra. Okay? So if you want to apply like that, it is up to you. But Shankara is not with you. So, therefore, you are not pursuing anything. You are not demanding anything. And these pursuits and demands and memories and idiosyncrasies, they are all the properties of the ego. And so, that ego comes to an end when you are awareful. And then you grow into Sakshi. Then what is behind Sakshi? Manaha, behind Manaha, Sakshi. What is behind Sakshi? There is no behind now. You have hit the wall. There is no behind. Okay? So, Drugeva natu drishyate. Sakshi is the Drug. It is the absolute subjectivity. I don't call it subject, because subject is a kind of noun, it tries to give a sense of a limited entity. No, it is not subject. Take out the limitations of a personality or whatever. You see, people don't understand. Guru is not a person. Guru is a tattvam. Ishvara is not a person. What a misfortune that you make Ishvara a person out of Ishvara. Ishvara is not a person. So you recite Dakshinamurti Stotram for no reason. So if you recite Dakshinamurti Stotram, there he is saying, you are not a person, your Guru is not a person, your God is not a person. That is what he is saying. As long as you take yourself to be a person, the Guru will be another person. You are a young person and Guru is old person. You don't have diabetes yet, the Guru has got it already. So, and then God is a third person whom diabetes can never touch. That is where you end up, that is the knowledge. ये क्या बात है भाई? इसको वेदांत नहीं बोलते हैं. You are not a person. Guru is not, you are tattvam. Guru is a tattvam and Ishvara is a tattvam. Then only Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye applies. Otherwise it doesn't apply. Therefore, you have to become free of that persona. You are not the person. While you are aware, you are not the person. And then what are you? Sakshi. Drugeva natu drishyate. What is this word Sakshi? So, if you want Vyakaranam, so Sakshat Drashtari Samujñayam. That is Sutra, Panini. So I tell you what Sakshi briefly. Suppose you see pot, I am ghataha, this is pot. You claim that I directly see the pot. No, you are wrong. You do not directly see the pot. Okay? If you directly see, you do not see pot, you see clay. You do not directly see the pot. You see through the eyesight and the mind, the prism of eyesight and mind. Through that prism you see and declare it is the pot. Okay? Suppose I give you an example. Suppose you close the eyes. I take the pot. Just to take the example, some example I did not plan all this. I don't plan anything that way. I plan in a way, but not that kind of planning. That's why very spontaneous example. I take a pot, close the eyes, just get the tip of the tongue out, then I put the pot there, touch the tongue, I take out and tell me what did you got, what is that? You will say clay. Got it? You will say clay. Okay? Close the eyes. I take the pot and I take the wood. This is game we used to play. You have to close the eyes and I make a sound. Tell me what it is. You say wood. You don't say table. If you say table, that means you are imagining. Right? Somebody may say table also and defeat my example. That's not like that. I say, what is that? Hey, some wood you are hitting. What is that? Hey, some plastic thing you are hitting. So, unless you see through the prism of eyes and the mind, you do not see pot. That's why we say, Murtiketyeva Satyam. Okay, you must have heard this statement. Many people don't present it properly. Let me say that also. So when you are in the market for everything, so therefore they don't present it properly. So Murtiketyeva Satyam. So when you say this is pot and call it direct knowledge, there is no directness in it, there is no knowledge in it. Because Murtiketyeva Satyam. Truth is that it is clay. Therefore, when you are looking with eyes, there is nothing direct in it. Then you see the smoke and say there is fire. Is that direct? That is also not direct. There is the prism of mind there and also eye. First you see the smoke, then only imagine with the eye that there must be fire in the mountain. Okay? Therefore you do not see the world direct. Swami Vivekananda used to say, for mithya definition, what is world? Is it not relative to your senses and the mind? You tell me. Is it not relative to the senses and mind? That's it. It is the mithya. Minus senses and mind, where is your world? It vanishes into thin air. It entirely depends upon your senses and the mind. What kind of jagat it is, how can you call it real? It is dependent upon something else and it is relative, that is the word used. Relative to the senses and the mind. How can you call it real? Only absolute can be real. So, the Sakshi is absolute. Sakshi, how do you know that I am Sakshi? Are Appa, you are the Sakshi. How do I know I am the Sakshi? Are Appa, you are the witness and the witness knows the witness. What else can tell? So, who knows the mind? You tell me. Who knows the mind? The witness of the mind knows the mind. Sun wanted to look at itself. And then it has procured a mirror and reflected some of the light upon itself and saw. So you have to know Sakshi that way. Suppose you are standing in darkness, thick darkness, like in a mammoth cave. You are standing in a mammoth cave. Complete darkness it is. Can you see your body? See, not feel. You can feel your body, you can touch your body. Can you see your body? You cannot see your body. If you want to see your body, you need a battery light, torch light, and focus it, and you can see the body in the mammoth cave, right? Then why do you say you are the body? You are not the body. Who told you? You cannot see it in darkness, and you need a torchlight to see the blessed thing, and you are the one who sees, not the thing that is seen. You are not the body, right? Now, in the darkness, you see that you are not seeing. I asked you a question. In the darkness, mammoth cave only, you remember? In the darkness, means pitch dark it is. In the darkness, you do not see, right? Okay. But you see that you do not see, right? Now, when you see with eyes. But when you see that you do not see, you see with what? No, mind, you say. Then how do you know that the mind is operating? Till now that is the discussion, 1 hour discussion. So how do you see the mind? The witness, the sakshi. How the sakshi sees the mind? With what the sakshi sees the mind? It doesn't require any means to see the mind. It sees direct. Okay? That's why sakshat drashtari saujñāyam. Saujñāyam, you don't leave it. That is a Vaiyakarana paribhashika padam. Sakshat drashtari. You see through eyes, not sakshi. You see through mind, not sakshi. You have only that much. You have eyes, you have mind, right? Only that much you have. Or you have book also inside you. You don't have a book inside you? No, I have a book. Appa, that is not book, that is intellect. And that I have included. I have covered that, right? So I have by-hearted some Veda and it is inside. So do I have Gomatam Srinivasa Josep's publication inside the head? Or do I have some embellished intellect? It is the intellect. Therefore, there is no book inside, there is only intellect. What you have inside also you should know. So, therefore, you see with eyes, you see with mind, but then Sakshi sees itself. What instruments it requires? It doesn't require any instrument or any means to see the mind. Do you need a means to see the mind? Do you need a means? To see the pot, you need the means. To see the fire in the mountain, you need the means, which is the mind. To see the mind, what means you need? You don't need any means. In fact, you don't have any means. If you need a means, then you cannot see the mind. But you are able to see the mind. You don't need the means. That is what you are. You are the one who sees without any means. Without the need for any means, you see. Gita Acharya says, Gita has everything. Aprameyaha. Anashinoprameyasya. Aprameyaha means that which sees without the need for any means of seeing. That is what Panini said, Sakshat Drashtari. Therefore you see the mind and also you see yourself. See yourself means know yourself without any means. Sun shines. So sun knows, sun shines. I am struggling to give you an example. Sun illuminates the whole world. Okay? Then sun illuminates the sun also. How does the sun illuminates the sun? With what? The sun illuminates the sun. So with light. Arre light to sun hi hai. Sun is the light. Right? So you have to say Sun is Sakshi. They say that, Loka Sakshi is the sun. Sun is Sakshi. Illuminates everything else and shines by itself. We don't want to say illuminates itself. We don't want to say. There is a nuance there. Illuminates itself is the Buddhist vision it is. Not Buddha. Kshanika Vijnanavada. Illuminates itself. It doesn't illuminate itself, it shines by itself. Because there is an action involved, it illuminates itself. Svasamvedyatvam is not accepted by Shankara. It is the Kshanika Vijnanavada and it is dismissed by Shankara. So, Sakshi doesn't know, Sakshi knows itself. Even that statement, it has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Sakshi knows itself. We say it, or we hear it and we keep quiet. Because that is not, don't be so pricky. Then leave it. But if you have to be very rigorous, Sakshi doesn't know itself. Sakshi shines by itself. Sakshi drugeva. It is not the knower. It is the knowingness. Sun is not the one who lights everything including itself. No. Sun is the light. Sakshi tu drugeva natu drushyate. You are that Sakshi. You invoke your true nature, and by invoking the true nature, you will be able to, when you abide as the Sakshi, you will be able to understand every thought with particular reference to the mind. You will be able to understand every thought without condemnation, and you will be accustomed to a silent and swift awareness. And please take it from me, that is called self-knowledge. That you know yourself as the Sakshi, and you are silently and swiftly abide as the pure awareness. That is the self-knowledge. Out of that self-knowledge comes an extraordinary quietness. It is not a small thing. An extraordinary quietness will come upon you, it will descend upon you, and that quietness is very creative. It is creative. It is not just following what somebody else said or what the scripture said, what the book said. It's not like that. It is very creative, and it is a quietude into which the reality comes into being. The divinity, it just comes into its own. It comes to the fore, it comes into its own. In that quietude, you love all, samashatraucha mitrecha, you accept all, you face all with courage, and you can see the world for what it is. The world cannot make you cry. The world cannot make you laugh also. It does both alternately. Now the world has lost its authority upon you, and in a way you walk away from the world, not from the duty. Okay? You walk away from the world, don't misinterpret it. You should not misinterpret anything. You listen and think about it. For after thinking, you come to a conclusion that this is not the right expression, leave it. Because sitting here, I speak so much. You see, one person transcribed what I spoke and gave me 30 pages bunch. I asked, what is this? This is what you spoke yesterday. How much I spoke? 55 minutes. So I spoke 55 minutes and it makes 30 pages. This much I spoke. I was worried. How? Because when you speak so much, so here or there can be an expression, and therefore you catch hold of an expression and catch my nose. Hey, Swami TV, like that. Please don't do that. You don't get anything out of it. So you observe and you watch and you think about it. So that awareness That a silent awareness, non-condemning, non-judging awareness is very creative, and in that awareness there is no becoming. There is only mere silent observation. There is no becoming. Something like when you see a film. When you see a film, do you become something? No. Without becoming anything, you watch it. So something like that. You are that Sakshi. So it is a very big subject, and I have condensed it into 4 or 5 classes, but one topic is completely covered. I only draw your attention to the first verse because the other 4 verses are elaboration of the same thing. Let us say the first verse, the all-important verse. Rupam drishyam lochanam druk tadrishyam druktumanasam drishyadhivrittaya sakshi drugeva natu drishyate. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyah Pruthivi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Kshobarahito Brahmanas Santu Nirbhayaha Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunatmane Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam. Om.
Just one announcement. That is the order forms for obtaining the audio or video recordings on a USB flash drive. The form will be on the table in the hallway. You can fill it out and give it to me in the room at the back of the hall. Thank you. I should have those ready by 1 o'clock, 1:30.
न भूमिर्न तोयं न तेजो न वायुः न खं नेन्द्रियं वा न तेषां समूहः अनैकान्तिकत्वात् सुषुप्त्यैकसिद्धः तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न वर्णा न वर्णाश्रमाचारधर्मा न मेधारणा ध्यानयोगादयोऽपि अनात्माश्रयाहं ममाध्यासहानात् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न माता पिता वा न देवा न लोका न वेदा न यज्ञा न तीर्थं ब्रुवन्ति सुषुप्तौ निरस्तातिशून्यात्मकत्वात् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न जाग्रन्न मे स्वप्न को वा सुषुप्तिः न विश्वो न वा तेजसः प्राज्ञको वा अविद्यात्मकत्वात्त्रयाणां तुरीयः तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् अपि व्यापकत्वाद्धदित्तत्वहि प्रयोगात् स्वतः सिद्धभावादनन्याश्रयत्वात् जगत्तुच्छमेतत्समस्तं तदन्यत् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न साङ्ख्यं न शैवं न तत्पाञ्चरात्रं न जैनं न मीमांसकादेर्मतं वा विशिष्टानुभूत्या विशुद्धात्मकत्वात् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न चोर्ध्वं न चाधो न चान्तर्न बाह्यं न मध्यं न तिर्यं न पूर्वापरादिक् वियद्व्यापकत्वादखण्डैकरूपः तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न शुक्लं न कृष्णं न रक्तं न पीतं न कुब्जं न पीनं न ह्रस्वं न दीर्घम् अरूपं तथा ज्योतिराकारकत्वात् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न शास्ता न शास्त्रं न शिष्यो न शिक्षा न च त्वं न चाहं न चायं प्रपञ्चः स्वरूपावबोधो विकल्पासहिष्णुः तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न जाग्रन्न मे स्वप्नको वा सुषुप्तिः न विश्वो न वा तेजसः प्राज्ञको वा अविद्यात्मकत्वात्त्रयाणां तुरीयः तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् अपि व्यापकत्वाद्धितत्वप्रयोगात् स्वतः सिद्धभावादनन्याश्रयत्वात् जगत्तुच्छमेतत्समस्तं तदन्यत् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् तदेकोऽवशिष्टः शिवः केवलोऽहम् न चैकं तदन्यद्वितीयं कुतः स्यात् न वा केवलत्वं न चाकेवलत्वं न शून्यं च चाशून्यमद्वैतकत्वात् कथं सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धं ब्रवीमि कथं सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धं ब्रवीमि कथं सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धं ब्रवीमि मनोबुद्ध्यहङ्कार चित्तानि नाहं न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमेर्न तेजो न वायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायुः न वा सप्तधातुः न वा पञ्चकोशः न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपस्थपायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहौ मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे मृत्युशङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपः विभुर्व्याप्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां सदा मे समत्वं न मुक्तिर्न बन्धः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं 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 शिवो